Okay, so as what our presenter discuss about different topics, including the descriptive statistics, determining the class interval and classes and constructing distribution table. Covered also the frequency and percentage distribution and order ranking, measure of central tendency, covered the mean, median in mode, weighted mean, and the quantiles. I just want to share to you the sample of a computation using Microsoft Excel. So again, before I forget, that we have what we call the arithmetic mean, So adding all observations and dividing the sum by the number of observations result at the arithmetic mean. Suppose that, and we have also an group data weighted mean or weighted average mean. So most commonly, especially if we are created, if we are having a research subject, and in our statement of the problem, we indicated, for example, let's say, for example, what are the profile of the respondent in terms of gender or sex, age, and section. So this time, we are using the percentage. So I will show you on how you'll be able to do with it.
Once again, good morning sa inyo. So today, ituturo ko sa inyo kung paano mag-analyze ng data gamit ang inyong statement of the problem at gamit ang nag-gather ninyong data at syempre gamit yung coded data na ginawa natin last time. Okay, so let's have a short review kung ano yung mga gagamitin nating statistical tools sa inyong statement of the problem. Your statement of the problems is this study aimed to determine the perception of grade 12 students at Don Mariano Marcos National High School on Google Classroom. Specifically, it aimed to answer the following questions. Dito muna tayo sa number 1. What are the profile of the respondents in terms of sex, age, and section? Dito, ang gagamitin nyo is frequency and percentage distribution. For number 2, what is the perception of respondents in Google Classroom in terms of ease of access, perceived usefulness, communication and interaction, and student satisfaction? Ang gagamitin nyo pong statistical tools for number 2 is mean and standard deviation. Okay, for number 3, is there a significant difference on the perception of the respondents on Google Classroom when grouped by their profile variable? Dito ang gagamitin nyo is t-test or one-way ANOVA. For 2 groups, ang gamitin nyo is t-test, and for 3 or more groups, ang gamitin nyo po is one-way ANOVA. Again, review tayo for number 1, frequency and percentage distribution. For number 2, we have mean and standard deviation. And for number 3, t-test or one-way ANOVA. Okay, so let's proceed. Ang ituturo ko muna sa inyo is for number 1, yung sa profiling muna tayo. So, open natin yung Excel na ginamit natin last time for coding. Okay, so as our basis, age 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 above coded as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. For gender or sex, male and female coded as 1 and 2. For section, we have 3 sections here, pearl for 1, diamond for 2, sapphire for 3, and last one is grade. Okay, so tingnan natin yung coding natin last time. So ito yung coding natin last time. In profiling, ito muna tayo. So sa profiling, we have 4 variables here, age, gender, section, and grade. Sa inyong statement of the problem, hindi nakasali si grade. So ang gagawin natin today is age, gender, and section. And again, I have 10 respondents here. Okay, sa profiling, you can use the mano-mano na pag-compute sa inyong calculator, lalo na kung ganitong 10 respondents lang. Pero if you have 20 respondents, 50 and above, or umabot pa siya ng 500 respondents and 1,000 respondents, ang gamitin nyo is Excel. At mas maganda pa sana kung meron kayong SPSS. Okay, so since Excel ang gagamitin natin, sa profiling muna tayo. Okay, so sa profiling tayo, ang ginawa ko dito, I'll just copy and paste this part. Ito. Ayan, nilagay ko siya dito. As you can see here, tapos ko nang ginawa ang age, frequency, ang age profile. Ayan, so sa age, I have 5 here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then 20 and above. O, done na yan. Ngayon, paano naman sa gender? Okay, so gawin natin yung step na ginawa ko dito sa age. So, lagay natin dito, gender. And then, let's just copy and paste the label column dito para mas maganda. Okay, so ang coded natin sa gender or sex, ang coding na ginawa natin is 1 for male and 2 for female. Okay, so punta muna tayo dito sa part na ito. Check natin ito. As you can see here, tingnan ninyo. Pag hinighlight ko to, lalabas is age. Tama? Yun yung ginamit ko dito. Okay, next, sa gender. Since gender tayo, check natin si gender kung anong lalabas. Si gender. Ngayon, ang pwedeng lumabas kasi dyan, D3, C3, ganun ang lalabas dyan kapag wala pang nailagay doon. So, highlight nyo yan, palitan nyo yung nakalagay doon, i-type nyo po si gender. Kuha po. And then, next section, ayan, highlight nyo ulit yan, palitan nyo ito ng section. Kasi sa inyo hindi lalabas agad yung section dyan, kailangan yung palitan. Next, in this case, we have grade. Ayan. So, ngayon dito na tayo sa table ng gender. Okay, so let's do the one by one step. Click nyo po si equals, frequency, ayan, isa-isahin muna, tapos mamaya yung shortcut, frequency, and then type nyo po si gender kasi yun naman yung kailangan natin. Lumabas na si gender, comma, and then yung code natin na 1 and 2, highlight nyo lang yan, then close. Palagi niyong tatandaan na kapag ka may open parenthesis, i-close nyo siya ng i-close. Okay? So, enter. Okay, so I have 5 males here. Okay, so next. Hindi kasi pwedeng i-drag mo yan pababa. Bakit? Kasi mag-iiba yung sa formula niya. Tingnan nyo, naging M4 and M5 na siya. So, ulitin natin, equals natin siya, frequency. Let's do it one by one. Masaya naman pag one by one. Gender, click nyo ulit si gender. Ayan. As you can see, highlighted ulit si gender, comma, and then highlight nyo yung code natin na 1 and 2, and then enter. Kuha. So, eto na yung frequency, 5 na male, and then 5 na female. Okay, sa total, let's check kung tama po yung total natin. Dito kasi ang ginagawa, pwede yung 1 by 1 na 5 plus 5, 10, or nakikita mo naman, pwede mo na ilagay na 10 yan. Pero kapag sabi ko nga madaming respondents at madami kayong options, mas maganda na marunong kayong gumamit ng formula. Okay, shortcut tayo. Sa shortcut, just click Alt equals. Labas na agad yan, and then enter. So, a total of 10 respondents sa gender. Check po ba yung 10 respondents dito? Yes. So, therefore, tama yung formula na ginamit natin. Walang error sa formula natin. Kuha po ba? Okay, dito sa percent, click equals, frequency. Ulitin ko, pwede kayong magmano-mano dito na mag-compute ng percent sa inyong calculator. That's okay. Pero ito nga, ituturo ko kung paano gamitin ang Excel. Kayo ang bahala kung saan kayo mas nadadalian. Okay po ba? Okay, frequency, click gender. And si gender, comma, code natin as 1 and 2, close. And then click division sign or slash. Tapos click natin si count. Ayan. And then, okay, sorry. Click nyo si gender. Again, mag-close po tayo ng parenthesis. Taran, 0.5. Again, ulitin natin para mas memorize nyo. Frequency, gender, comma, yung code na 1, 2, close, division sign or slash, count, click nyo po si count or type count, and then click nyo ulit si gender, close, and then enter. Ayan. So, sa total, gamitin ulit natin yung shortcut key, Alt equals. Enter. Okay, so gawin natin, syempre percent ito. I-click natin si percent doon. So, how many percent sa sa male? 50. Sa female, 50%. Ay, sa female, 50%. A total of 100%. Kuha ba? Okay, so let's proceed to section. Ito, turuan ko kayo kung paano gamitin yung shortcut at mas madali. Sa section, copy natin yung label column, Ctrl-C plus Ctrl-V. Sa sections, I have 3 sections here, 1, 2, and 3. Yan, coded yan ng pearl, diamond, and sapphire. O, check nyo yung basis nyo. Ayan, pearl, diamond, sapphire. Okay, so balik tayo dito. Ang gawin is, sa shortcut, para mas mabilis tayo, highlight, click equals, palabasin si frequency. Ayan, lumabas na si frequency. Section, click po si section. Ayun, highlighted na si section. Then, highlight ulit yung code natin. Then, close. Ayan. So, kanina, diretso tayong nag-enter. Ngayon, gamitin natin yung 3 keys. So, ngayon, ang gagawin natin is Alt, Shift, Enter. Diba? Lumabas na lahat yung frequency ng dalawang section pa. Kuha po ba? O, lagay na natin si total. Again, yung shortcut key natin dito is Alt equals. Then, Enter. So, total of 10 respondents. Check natin, 10 respondents po talaga ang respondents ko. Palagi nyo i-check yan. Kasi, kung nagkamali kayo dito, ibig sabihin may error. Kuha po ba? Okay, sa frequency, again, highlight nyo siya. Click equals. Yung formula natin kanina, frequency. Ayan, then, section. Palagi nyo i-check na yung na-highlight ay yung talagang sa section. Comma, and then yung code natin na 1, 2, 3, close, the division sign or the slash, count, and then section. Ayun, so close, tapos wag lang diretsong mag-enter, so let's use again the 3 keys, Ctrl, Shift, Enter. Ayan, so kuha na tayo. Total, Alt, or the shortcut for sum. So, Alt equals, okay, sorry. Alt equals. So, Enter. And then, highlight nyo yan, then click percent. Ayun, so, kumpleto na ang ating table. So, ayusin natin ito ng, lagyan natin ng may all borders. Sorry. Lagyan natin ng all borders. Ayan, click nyo all borders. And then after nyan, copy natin ito. Ctrl-C, ito lang na part. Tapos punta kayo dito. Ctrl-V. Ctrl-V. Tapos, as you can see here, ayan, pwede nyo siyang i-center. Para mas masaya, ayusin yung table. Ctrl-B. Pwede nyo din siyang i-center. Ctrl-E. At ito, pwede nyong i-bold to Ctrl-B. Yan. And then, as you can see, meron pa ding fill yan. Saan na yung design nito? So, shading, i-zero natin. And then, ang color dapat ng laman ng table, it should be black. Kasi research ito, it should be formal. Okay, so ganyan. Ganyan yung itsura niya. Ngayon, nakalagay dyan is age 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ang gawin ninyo, i-copy nyo na ito. Kunin nyo na ito. Hello, grade 2.
Okay, that this will be an example of getting the frequency, no? So this time, it is also important for us to know on how we'll be able to use Microsoft Excel in getting the measures of central tendency. Now, as our presenter mentioned earlier, no, finding the average grades of students, no, the average daily sales of department store or the average salary per month of employees in a company are common procedures that we do occasionally. So without us knowing it, we have been doing statistical tasks at different times. Average is a term which can be associated with central tendency or central location. So again, a while ago, our presenter mentioned that three types of measures of central tendency: the mean, median, and mode, or arithmetic mean, median, and mode. So when we say mean, no, find the arithmetic mean. We just simply add all the items or observation, then divide the sum by the total number of observation. For the median, of course, the median is the midpoint of an array of numbers of observation. Okay, or sometimes we use mid, no, as our variable, or there are some authors use MD, no, for median. And the last one is the mode. No, the mode is the observation data appears the most number of times in distribution. Okay, so I will give you again an example of a central tendency using Microsoft Excel.
Welcome to statistics video number 2, where we're going to be looking at the mean, median, and mode, which are individual measures of the average or central tendency. So before I begin, I want to make sure you understand these basic rules. So if the data is symmetrical, you want to use the mean to determine the average. If the data is skewed in either direction, you want to use the median to determine the average. And if the data is nominal, that is, it's dealing with categories such as brands, favorite foods, etc., you want to use the mode to determine the average. Now for the first two, the mean and the median, and to determine if the data is symmetrical or skewed, you want to use a frequency distribution table and a histogram chart, or one or the other. And if you need a refresher on that, you can look at my first statistics video. And really, these are just the basic rules. I created a little chart here that has more rules here, but there are quite a few other rules. So if you need more information, just do a little Google search. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the mean. And so I have a bunch of data here, just sales for individual stores, and I started by creating a frequency distribution chart using the frequency function here. And I did the same thing that I did in the first video, and as you can tell, the data is somewhat normal. And so I'm going to use the mean. So the mean is the average. So I'm going to highlight my range here. We can see the mean is approximately 54,700. Now, if the data is symmetrical, you can use the mean, median, or mode to look at the average, and they should be right around the same value. So I'm going to look at the median as well. And you can see they are right around the same value. All right, let's move on to the median. So I'm using similar sales data, however, the data is obviously skewed. And since it is skewed, I'm going to be using the median to determine the average. So let me start with that. You can see the median is approximately 54,200. And let me show you what the mean looks like, just to show you that it is going to be off, and it's only a little bit off, but it does make a difference. And so definitely when the data is skewed, you want to use the median. And just an example, in one arena where you definitely want to use the median is home prices. Alright, now let's take a look at the mode. So in this example, basically Let's pretend that I took a survey of people's favorite fruits and I got the results here. And since they aren't numbers, I can't use the mode function. And let me just prove it to you here. And let me just show you what the mode function does when there are numbers. And if you forget what the mode really does, so this returns the most frequently occurring or repetitive value in an array or range of data. So it's just going to return the number that appears the most. So let me go ahead and do this here, and you can see the mode is 1. Now, to determine the mode for nominal data, what you want to do is select the range here, make sure you select the header as well. Go to Insert, Pivot Table, Pivot Chart. I'm going to select existing worksheets. I'm going to put the pivot table in our chart right there. Click OK. So I'm going to drag the header down to the access fields and the access values. You can see there's a frequency distribution table and a histogram chart, and as you can tell, the survey results show that apple is by far the most favored fruit. It comes up 18 times, and in second place is the apricots, which show up only 3 times, and you can, or actually, I'm sorry, kiwi and then pineapple, which show up 4 times each. All right, so that is central.
Okay, so that this will be on how we'll be able to use the Microsoft Excel in getting your mean, median, in mode. No, it's too easy now rather than computing one by. As I mentioned earlier, no, it's too easy for us to use Microsoft Excel in getting mean, median, in mode, no, rather than computing one by one, no, using paper and pen. So this time, as I mentioned, we're going to have an example of a measuring dispersion, range, variance, and standard deviation using Microsoft Excel at the same time, no?
Statistics video number 3, measures of dispersion, where I'll be looking at the range, variance, and standard deviation. The range is by far the easiest measure to understand. By finding the difference between the maximum value in a data set and the minimum value, you can see the overall spread of the data. And I can calculate that now. Maximum value minus the minimum value, and you get a range of 120. Unfortunately, by itself, the range is a poor measure of dispersion because it's heavily influenced by extreme values. It also says little about how the data is dispersed between the maximum and minimum values. A better way to measure dispersion is to couple the range with the variance and standard deviation. So the variance and standard deviation take into account the values that fall between the maximum and minimum values and show how those values relate to the mean. The variance of a data set is the mean of the squared differences of each number from the data set's mean, while the standard deviation is the squared root of the variance. And you can see those formulas here: the sample variance, population variance, sample standard deviation, and population standard deviation. Now keep in mind, you do not have to memorize these formulas as Excel calculates them for you. And you can see the functions here, and they're broken out between variance and standard deviation, as well as population, and the sample and sample. And in addition, there are functions that are dependent on whether text and or logical values are taken into account. So I've included a link to the spreadsheet in the description below, so feel free to download to make a note of these formulas. Now, even though Excel will calculate the variance and standard deviation for you, it's still important to go through them by hand a few times to understand their deeper meaning. So I'll go through one example of finding the variance and standard deviation of a sample set. And I'll be following the steps over here. So step number 1 is to calculate the data set's mean. Which is 17. In step number 2, I'll be finding the difference between each data point in the mean in step number 3, I'll square those differences. In step number 4, I'm going to sum those differences. Step number 5, I'm going to divide the sum of those differences by n minus 1. And n is just the number of data sets, or I'm sorry, n is just the number of data points in the data set. So you can see that n is 20, so obviously n minus 1 is 19, so 122 divided by 19 is 6.42, and if I stop there, this will be the variance. And if I continue on to step 6, where I'll square the variance, that'll give me the standard deviation. So I'll do the square root function, and so the standard deviation is 2.53. And then let me go ahead and check my work here by using the standard deviation of a sample function, 2.53. And so what does that mean? Basically, the standard deviation shows the relation that a set of data has to the mean. In this example, most of the data falls within 2.53 data points of the mean. Now let's look at a few more examples that are a little bit easier to understand. So I have 4 data sets here, and I'm going to calculate the mean of each one of them. And then I'm going to calculate the standard deviation. So you can see in this first data set the mean is 9 because each of the data points are either 12 or 6, and each of those data points are 3 data points away from the mean. In set number 2, the mean is 8 because the data points are either 10 or 6, which is 2 away from the mean, and 2 is the standard deviation. In set number 3, the numbers are 8 and 6. The average of those is 7, and 8 and 6 is 1 away from the mean, and 1 is the standard deviation. And then in set number 4, all the values are the same, so the mean is 6, and since all the values are the same, there's no difference. And
So okay, as you can see, no, it's too easy for us to use Microsoft Excel in a computations. No, I just want to add some additional features of Microsoft Excel. Okay, so as what we have here, no, this will be the Microsoft Excel, no, 2019 actually. So most commonly, we just simply open the blank workbook, right? Okay, so as what we have here, no, so let's say for example, we wanted to type world, city, colleges. Then Quezon City. Then if we wanted, for example, 1, 2, oh, okay, you just have, for example, you have 10 na class, no? So what you're going to do is just to highlight, then 1 to 10. So let's say, for example, we want to adjust the width. So, okay. Then, for example, is 1, Jose, Joanne, Joy, Jing, Andres, Pedro, Josefa, Amelia, Juana. Example, let's say, for example, this will be the name, no? So you have a name, then, for example, prelim, no? Midterm, and finals. Okay. Then, if you want to get the sum, just the sum, average, no? Average again is an average or the mean, no? Or arithmetic mean. We want to get the remarks, no? So let's say, for example, if you want to choose the, no, you just simply highlight, then choose all borders, no? Say, for example, 70, 67, 67. Sorry. So if we want to copy all, Control C, then highlight, Control V. Then if we wanted to get the sum, no? So as what our video earlier, no? So to highlight, then click center or Control E, no? Or Control C. Then for us to get the sum, actually it is necessary for us to use the equal, then sum. No need, no? No need, no? What we're going to do is to use a shortcut key, no? So you just simply put your cursor on where you want to place your the result, no? Then go to the standard toolbar, no? We have a summation here. Just click, then sum, then press enter. Okay. So once you have computed the first one, you just look for the smaller plus sign at the left, at the right bottom, no, of your active cell. Then double click. So automatically you have a total. Okay. So for us to get the average or the mean, no. So same, you just simply put your cursor in the place you want to display the results. Then again, go to your summation, no? Then just click arrow down. Then by this time, you just simply choose average. Okay. So as you can see here, it is highlighted already the C1, C5 to F5. But what we wanted to get only is the C to E, right? So we just simply edit at the formula bar instead of E5 because F5 is our sum, right? So what we're going to do is to replace F to E, no? Then press enter. So you have an average already here. Then same as what we did a while ago, look for a plus sign at the lower right, no, of your active cell. Then double click. So you have already. Now, how will be able to indicate the pass or failed? No? So same as what we did earlier, you just simply put your cursor in a place you want to display the result. Then this time, same, just click arrow down. Then more functions. Then we have here a different functions. Use if. No? Then okay. Then logical test. What you want to test is this one, the average, right? Then what condition? Okay. So for example, if G1 is greater than or equal to 75, if true, pass, right? If false, that is failed. So it means to say if it is not greater than or equal to 75, so therefore this false, then the result is failed. Then click OK. So as you can see here, automatic the 78 is passed. Then as what we did earlier, you just look for a smallest plus sign at the lower right of your active cell, then double click. Okay. Now, if we wanted to replace, for example, I have a problem with Jose. no, I inputted incorrectly his grades. No? So instead of 87, for example, that is 67. No? 67. So as you can see here, automatically adjusted the average, the sum, and the remarks. Okay? So as what we have more than one decimal places. But most commonly, no, we just observe 2 decimal places. So you just simply highlight, then at the top of your formatting toolbar, use increase or decrease. Na? So 2 decimal places. Okay. Now, sometimes, no, it is important for us to easy to identify, no, who is failed and who is passed. Okay. So what we're going to do is to highlight, then use conditional formatting. Click conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, greater than. Okay? So greater than 75. Oh, sorry. Instead na greater than, we make it less than. Less than 75. Conditional formatting. Less than. Less than 75, we mark red. We say failed. Okay, so automatic. So same with the remarks. So for example, this time a while ago is just this one is a number. How about if text or alphanumeric? So same conditional formatting. This time highlight cell, but write choose equal to, or kaya text that contains. Okay, or use equal to. So for example, failed, mark green, for example, or commonly red, right? Okay, right, red. So as you can see here. So if we want to replace a grade, for example, of Pedro, so we make it 77. So a while ago, we have 201 sum, 60, we have 201, 67 in failed. But if we change the grades of Pedro, just simply click this one, enter. Then, for example, this one is 87. So automatically, as you can see here, 231, 77 in pass. Automatically marked as black because Pedro is passed. Okay, now, as you can see, how about if this will be your payroll? No? This will be your payroll. So what you're going to do? So once na nag-left ka doon sa desk mo at may mapadaan, pwede niyang i-edit. So for us to secure our sheet, no? What we're going to do, of course, is to right-click the sheet name, or you just replace this one. For example, that is grades. No? Double-click lang. Okay? Then right-click, for example, let's say, for example, then, as you can see here, we have protect sheet. Click nyo lang. So if you want not to format the cell, format the columns, format the rows, hindi pwede mag-insert, hindi pwedeng actually ako personally, no, I check all of this, no. I'll check, no, para secure ako na lahat hindi pwedeng pakialaman yung records. Then supply your password. For example, I use 8, no. Okay? Supply again 8. So as you can see here, na-highlight siya, pero pag dinilit ko, that the cell of chart you're trying to change is on protected sheet. So iwan mo man yung laptop, kung payroll man yan, hindi siya mababago ng ka-office mate mo. Okay? So ganun kahalaga ang paglagay natin ng records. Okay? So I think that's it for today. Then later, no, maybe I will share to you some additional inputs on how we'll be able to use Microsoft Excel in statistics. But actually, no, before I forget, no, if you wanted to remove, no, of course, unprotect, no, then supply the password. Pero as you can see here, no, if I wanted to highlight, no, still, no, not allowed na i-replace, for example, no, and so on. So if I wanted to delete, no, not allowed. Okay. So how about if we wanted to use some statistical tools? Saan ba natin makikita sa Excel ang statistics tools? Okay, so by the way, tanggalin ko muna yung i-unprotect ko muna para mag-display yung summation natin. Okay, so this one, same as what we have here earlier, no? So drop down, more functions, then dito po sa ano natin, most commonly used, i-drop down nyo po yan. Nakalagay dyan is statistical. Ayan, nakita nyo po, average div, average A, and so on and so forth. Nandito po lahat yung mga statistical tools. Okay, na pwede nyo magamit when it comes to your research, no? May C-test, no? Alphabetical arrange siya actually. Okay? So I think that's it for today, and thank you for attending our class.